But the four companies that I'm going to talk to you about, there's Tastemade, there's a company called Fullscreen, there's dear old Twitter, and then there's Neurosky, so the people with the mind-reading boxes on the front of your head. Tastemade was fascinating. We'll start with them. So they talk about themselves as a food and travel video network for the mobile generation. And maybe when you read that or you go and meet them, you go, well, food and travel, that's quite niche. But I think actually that makes them really powerful. When Jeff Bezos started Amazon, there's a reason why he started with books, and it's not because he likes to read. They own the talent, they own the format, they own the distribution, and they own the production. And this makes them powerful in a way that few media companies have been, I think, over the last 10 or 15 years. But they were very proud of this set, which you can barely see in that circle there, because it was designed to work in a vertical screen format. Because now, so many of the videos that they are producing are being watched on iPhones, and this thinking about vertical screen formatting, which is just a little something as a creative ad man, I don't normally think about, was going, oh, of course. They said that for every piece of content they produce, they do 9 different cuts. They are cutting and recutting and recutting and thinking about content as an event, which you then express in multiple different ways, which was fascinating. But the other thing I thought was very interesting about Tastemade is that they are ready in a way that many of the other people we spoke to aren't for what the new normal of content consumption will be like. They were there first on Snapchat. They were there first on the new Apple TV set, and Apple are trying to convince us in the way they have done with iPhones that we should be consuming television through an app format. They were there first. Said, we're going to be one of the leading brands in the third wave of media companies. And that idea of there was a first wave of media, which was cinema, there was a second wave, that was television, and this is the third wave. And the internet, in the last 10 years, that's just been the first kind of tremors of that coming. These guys, I was really impressed by how big he was thinking, because he wasn't saying, I want to be Facebook. He was saying, I want to be CNN, but bigger. Fullscreen. Fullscreen was similar to Maker, except they haven't been bought by Disney. But essentially what they are is an agent and an agency for makers and for YouTube personalities. And they had a brilliant presentation that they haven't sent to us yet, which has loads and loads of very compelling statistics about how many of the millennials, buzzword A, are consuming authentic, buzzword B, video content, buzzword C, because whilst they have the viewers, they have the pipe, they have the content, what they don't have is the ability to be sophisticated in the way that you embed a brand into it, and beyond just badging it with, well, we are Tide, we cure stains, let's get him stained. It's like, yeah, that would be creative review number 1, and it's gone. But what was fascinating, and we spoke a little bit about this, is how scared everybody is of Snapchat. And there's a reason why when we went to see Snapchat in their warehouse, Snapchat felt like they were deeply, deeply paranoid guys who were like, who's recording us, waiting for the red dot to kind of track onto their foreheads, because that's exactly what's happening. You know, we look at the Googles, we look at the Facebooks. These are companies born and bred by engineers in San Francisco, and they're very left brain, lateral. The role of advertising is to deliver a message. And so you see that in the development of how advertising as a notion has worked on Facebook and has worked on Google. It has been deliver a message. You know, Facebook advertising up until about a year and a half ago, if that, laughable in terms of its ability to actually deliver engagingly creative stuff. And then along comes Snapchat with a rich video interface and a way of creating advertising that has, you know, the beginnings of the kind of engagement that you get in TV, and it's like you've thrown a fox into the chicken house. Facebook stood up and went, we want Facebook to kill YouTube, and we want Instagram to kill Twitter, and the guy from, what was the name of the company? Cold Creek Technologies, who's a big data company, said, my quote of the week was, you, your clients, and the consumer are collateral damage in the war between Facebook and Google. You're like, oh, finally, yeah, we've all been thinking it. And then lastly, Neurosky. These guys were interesting in that, again, a little bit like the robot thing. You go, well, when we were looking at the program events that we'd go and see, you go, well, we're going to go and see some guys called Tastemade who, I don't know, cooking shows or something, and then we're going to go and see some guys who make robots, and some guys who've got stuff that can read your brains, you're going, I know which meetings I'm not going to miss. But what was fascinating to me, I think, is that the meetings I found least impressive were some of the ones that on paper sounded like the most impressive. And it was interesting because it's one of the things I think a danger for us is to get suckered by some of the glitter and the glamour of the sort of sci-fi stories. Whereas, in fact, I think the big lesson that I took out of the whole trip is that many of the most exciting and important and interesting places where we can actually add value are history repeating. And that's good news.